Today's reading is from Practicing Peace in Times of War. War and peace start in the human heart. Whether that heart is open or whether the heart closes has global implications. In the Way of the Bodhisattva, a Buddhist text composed in the 8th century, Buddhist master Shantideva says something along the lines of, if these long-lived, ancient, aggressive patterns of mind that are the wellspring of only unceasing woe that lead to my own suffering as well as the suffering of others, if these patterns still find their lodging safe within my heart, how can joy and peace in this world ever be found? As long as we keep strengthening our anger and self-righteousness with our own thoughts and our words and our actions, they will never go away. Let's take these words into the silence. So I know today, centered in this time of oneness and sharing, that every aspect of this service is divine. Every word spoken, every note sung, every action is God expressing for our highest and our best good. And I thank you, God, for this center, for the wholeness and the oneness and the peace. And so it is. Amen.
Great song, Kyle. Thanks. So today is the International Day of Peace. Did you know that? Yeah. It was established in 1981 by the United Nations, and it's something that's observed around the world. It's devoted to strengthening the ideals of peace, both within and among people and nations. And this year's theme I thought was really interesting. This year's theme is, I have a right to peace. We have a right to peace. And that really sort of makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, every one of us in this world has the right to peace. It rings true down deep in ourselves. And it makes me wonder why then we seek happiness and peace by making war. And I'm not talking about just countries and governments. I'm talking about us individually. You know, we come home after a hard day, say, and all we really want is a little peace and quiet. And the kids or the dogs and cats are at it. And so what do? We start yelling at them. Not very peaceful. Or someone cuts us off in traffic on the way home and we roll down our window and yell at them. We strike out when we're seeking peace and things don't go our way. We make war trying to get peace. It's a little bit backward, just a little bit backward when we're seeking our own ease and we're seeking freedom from that tenseness and stress that we live under. What we do whenever something impinges on that is harden ourselves. We get our armor up and we close off our hearts, and seeking peace, we go to war with those around us whenever we feel even just a little uncomfortable. It's kind of amazing how quickly it happens. We learn to do it. We all are taught to do it by, I think, just society in general. And I think it comes from that interesting combination of human, biological, and spiritual being that we are. There's a woman that I think most of you know. Her name is actually Mildred Norman, but she went by Peace Pilgrim. Many of you have probably seen her little booklet. She walked, I don't know how many, she started with 10,000 miles and far surpassed it, walking the country trying to teach people about peace. And she said, when enough of us find inner peace, our institutions will become more peaceful and there will be no more occasion for war. Whew, I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. That is a common thread as well through all of the world's spiritual traditions, that when enough of us find inner peace, the outer begins to change as well. In some giant meeting, Deepak Chopra was questioning the Dalai Lama about terrorism and violence in the world, and His Holiness is a truly compassionate being, and he said, early stress in life from things like abuse and poverty cause negative emotions such as fear and jealousy and anger, and those emotions turn into violence. World peace, he said, begins with inner peace, tolerance, and compassion. He's not saying that we don't have any responsibility in this. He's saying that when we're kids, when we're little people, and we don't know how much power we have over our own minds, if things happen to us that we can't do anything about and that we don't understand, we may have fear become part of who we are. We may have anger become part of who we are. And we need to figure out ways to change that later on when we realize that we can. But I love that idea that world peace begins with inner peace and compassion and tolerance. And another place it shows up is, of course, in the Hawaiian Huna tradition. There was a woman named Morna Simeona, and she presented something that we've talked about before to the United Nations years ago. It's called Ho'oponopono, and many of you have probably heard about that as well. As I study it and think about it and try feebly to practice it, it becomes more and more and more like the go-to shorthand for all the world's teachings about inner peace. She said this, she said that Ho'oponopono is a way of taking 100% responsibility for your world as you experience it, of realizing that if I am at peace, my world will be at peace, not the other way around. See, we have it backwards. We think if it's peaceful out there, we can be peaceful in here, but it starts in here. It absolutely starts in here. She went on to say that the purpose of the process is to discover the divinity within oneself. Does this sound familiar? Sounds like something our founder Ernest Holmes would have said, right? Her successor is an interesting woman by the name of Dame Mabel Katz, and she said, I believe if we could realize our oneness with the universe, we could reach inner peace automatically. This is the peace that will reflect around us. Sounding more and more familiar. As I said last week, our founder Ernest Holmes said that the consciousness of oneness is the perception of the consciousness of oneness is the essence of all healing. And healing conflict, of course, is what becoming peaceful is all about. And so when we can have that consciousness of oneness with the universe, inner peace begins to become an automatic response. It's when we fall out of that and feel alone and like we have to do it all ourselves, and that if we're going to get anything done, we have to just push forward and do it. And if anybody gets in the way, they're messing with us. That's what causes the lack of inner peace. But if there's a reflection on this idea that we're all one with that divine energy and with each other and with all life, things begin to heal within us. So it's International Day of Peace, and peace starts here and reflects out there. World peace starts with inner peace. And I think to cultivate inner peace, we have to cultivate at least a working relationship with that divine spark of life within us. Hopefully a deeper relationship with that, but at least a working relationship with that part of us that tells us that the real ground of our being is love. And the part of us that when our brain says, oh, you better protect yourself, you better close your heart, and you better put on your armor, there's a part of us that says, no, you need to open your heart more, you need to love more, you need to soften and open to a greater extent. Because our brains tell us that someone or something out there is doing something to us. And that part of us will say, this is an opportunity to grow larger, to grow more loving, to be more compassionate, to practice feeling kin with all life. The brain reacts, and the soul wants us to love more. And it makes perfect sense to me that the brain reacts with fear and closing after what we talked about last week. You know, the biology of the machinery we have. There's the earliest part of the brain which says, oh, look out, there's danger everywhere. And there's the middle part of the brain which says, ooh, goodies. And then there's the thinking part of the human brain that attaches to everything. And so when we see something dangerous, we attach to our perception of its dangerousness. When we see goodies, we attach to them and we're afraid something's going to take them away. So our brain is telling us, watch out, close up, be careful. But there's that other part of us that says, wait a minute. What is the truth here? The real deep truth here is that this person or this situation I'm looking at, my perception of it springs from me. And if I can open my heart more and be more loving, that's how I'll experience it. The problem is learning to do that. Learning to do it before we have already, jumped both feet into the it's mine or you're out to get me stance. If we can do this a little bit before we get there, there are lots and lots and lots of ways to do it. And as I said, I'm realizing that this huna practice, this ho'oponopono, is sort of the shorthand for many of what the other world religions teach us. It's a process where we ask in every single moment that the errors of perception, the errors of thought and word and deed and action be cleansed. And we're not asking something out there, we're asking ourselves to allow our perceptions and our thoughts and our words and our deeds and our actions to be cleansed. And the shorthand is 4 simple statements. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Thanking the person or the situation for the opportunity to grow, to become more loving, to practice compassion in a bigger way. I love you brings us right back into knowing that that's the ground. That's the real ground of our being. That's the ground of our souls and our hearts, love. It's the creative power of the universe. Everything is creating for the sheer love of it. I'm sorry that my pain, my frustration, my skewed perception has caused me to see this situation as something other than oneness. I'm sorry I see you as an enemy. I'm sorry I see this as an enemy. Please forgive me is, forgiveness is the practice of freedom. We forgive ourselves for creating the situation, and we forgive the other, if there's another involved, or the situation, for laying it all on them, laying this perceived idea that they're bad or that they're out to get us on them. And if you look at today's reading, it's funny because it's posted in calligraphy on my husband's office wall, that very reading from Shantideva. It was written in 800 800 BCE, and maybe 800 AD. I can't remember. Anyways, it's old. It's old. And he has it written down there, and so every time I'm down there, I see it again. If these long-lived, ancient, aggressive patterns of mine that are the wellspring only of unceasing woe, that lead to my own suffering, as well as the suffering of others, if these patterns still find their lodging safe within my heart, how can joy and peace in this world ever be found? The same four elements are in there. These are my patterns. I'm sorry for creating this situation. Thank you for the opportunity to look at this and see where one of these patterns is causing me or another to suffer. Please forgive me. We have to forgive ourselves for holding those patterns in our hearts. And the whole thing is steeped in love. The love that lets us forgive, that lets us be free of the past. Because that's really what forgiveness is. Forgiveness means we free ourselves of the past. Doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. We free ourselves from the past when we forgive, when we let go of what somebody else did. Here's the thing about that stuff, though, that stuff that we hold and don't forgive. We're always pointing our fingers at someone out there and finding them to be the wrongdoer, right? Remember that song we sang at the very beginning? I forget that you're a reflection of me and I'm a reflection of you. We are mirror images, and we're all constantly angry at the stuff out there. We're all outraged at everybody else's wrongness, which means that you all are outraged at my wrongness. You know what I mean? We're all outraged at those people's wrongness instead of saying, maybe I could get a different perspective on this. Maybe I could see it differently. We point our fingers and forget that the mirror image is us. But as the reading said, as long as we justify our righteousness, our righteous anger, which in my book doesn't exist, and our heart hardening, nothing ever changes, and we'll never have peace. It will always elude us as long as we are justifying anything other than love. And I don't mean we have to stand there with someone who's hitting us and say, I love you. No, no, no. You can get yourself out of that situation and then come back into your own insides and say, how can I frame this up differently so I'm free? So that I'm free. Those patterns that Shanti Deva was talking about, closing our hearts, aggression, hatred, violence, those patterns live in here, and they're just training. They're just thought patterns. They don't live out there, they live in here. If we want to see a change in our lives and in the world, we have to evict those guys. We have to first realize that we own the property, right? Nobody owns my heart but me. Nobody owns my mind but me. I am the owner of this real estate. So I'm going to serve them a notice to quit. And they aren't going to move willingly. I'm going to have to practice. I'm going to have to practice, which is the beauty of this simple Huna practice. It gives us something to do almost every moment. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to look at my own thinking patterns. I love you. I am a creature of love. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for misconstruing. I'm sorry for carrying this thought pattern around. Please forgive me. To myself first, please forgive me. Please forgive me for doing this again. This must be the 10 millionth time this week. And forgive the situation. Forgive the person. Ask their forgiveness for what you've put on them. We have to serve them a notice to quit. And then we have to change our thinking in order to root them out. Every one of these ways of peace that you find requires a lot of courage, because it requires us to work a change of heart. It requires us to work a change of heart. The willingness to sit with the discomfort and know that it's just discomfort. Because what makes us close is that we want to get away from discomfort like it's the plague. And discomfort really doesn't hurt you unless you attach to it. It's a momentary feeling. You know, they used to say, I remember that like the 100th time I tried to quit smoking. I finally did it, but I read something that said that the average nicotine craving lasts 10 seconds. It's discomfort for 10 seconds. And I started timing it, you know. Yeah. Really? And it's true. It was true. Most of these little frissons of discomfort that we get when something out there isn't going our way pass away so quickly. And they're just discomfort. They don't kill you. That's the thing that is easy to learn. And that's the beginning of this change of heart that we're trying to work. Instead of hardening to get away from the discomfort, just take a breath. By the time you exhale, most of the time the discomfort is gone. It's an interesting thing that it just goes away. And then we find ourselves in a position of being calm enough to say, what pattern is trying to superimpose itself on my experience? One of these ancient, aggressive patterns that Shantideva was talking about. And so one of the ways that we can work that change of heart is this practice of Ho'oponopono. And there are many more. I found a good one that's very, common and easy English language. The first one is seek to love, not control others. Seek to love them rather than control them. Spend some time cultivating inner peace through meditation or a walk in the woods or whatever practice brings you that easiness of being. Moderate your convictions. I love this. Realize that really they're your opinions and it's okay to have them, but they can really mess with your peace if you let them, solidify and concretize into things that are the truth with a capital T. They're not. What is truth with a capital T? Does anyone really know? But when you have convictions, opinions, moderate them. Be ready to review your understanding based on new information. This is very difficult for me, I'll tell you. Be tolerant of other people's foibles, knowing that we all have them. Remember that reflection? What we see out there is a mirror image of what's in here. Ugh. I love this one. Be peace. A peaceful person does not use violence against another person or animal. That includes small, obnoxious insects, too. Because we get upset and harden up if there's a mosquito buzz in our heads, right? We do. While there is so much violence in this world, make a choice not to let death or killing be part of your philosophy of living. I thought about that and I thought, man, it is so easy to just swat that mosquito or spray that wasp or, kill that slug. What if we shifted our philosophy of living to be, let me give whatever I can a place to live that is safe for both of us. I'm always picking up beetles and taking them outside before the cats take all their legs off, trying to give them the opportunity to be alive in a place that doesn't bother me. I used to try and do it with mice, and when I lived in this ancient house in Salt Lake, and I'd find them all over. And the problem is when you have 3 cats, you can get one out of the room, and then you go for the next one, and the one you just took out runs back in, because three cats and a mouse is a terrible thing. Ugh. But trying to make my philosophy not allow death and killing. Seek forgiveness, not revenge. I love this statement. Dwelling on that which should have been and reliving past wounds will keep the negativity of the past alive and bring constant internal conflict. Forgiveness allows you to live in the present, look forward to the future, and to let the past settle gently. I love that. Forgiveness is the ultimate victory because it lets you enjoy your life again by making peace with the past. What a clear statement that is. I love it. Live in wonder. If we choose to see the beauty around us, if you walk outside and see the beauty of the flowers or the trees or the whatever it is, it's very difficult to be violent against something beautiful. And you can see it everywhere. You can even see it in graffiti and broken concrete in the inner city. There's beauty everywhere, and certainly in every human face there's some beauty to be found, and it's difficult to be destructive of something that is beautiful to you. And finally, be the change. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Violence starts with your acceptance of its possibility as a solution. It's within yourself that you need to stop violence and become peaceful. You're free to choose your own path, but whatever way you go, keep in mind that all your actions will affect those around you. What was it the reading said? Your inner state has global consequences. So peace begins in each one of us. I want to close with a quick little rendition of a Hindu teaching story that I really love. It's about a saint who was at the Ganges River with a group of his students, and there was a family, and they were having a shouting match. And the teacher said to the students, "Why do people shout at each other when they're angry?" And one of the students says, "Because they lose their calm and they start to shout." And the teacher said, "But wait a second, look, they're standing right next to each other. Couldn't they convey what they want to convey in a soft voice? They're right next to each other." And the students all went, And they offered a few lame answers, but no satisfactory answer. Finally, the teacher said, when two people are angry at each other, their hearts distance, and they have to shout so that one heart can hear the other heart. The angrier they are, the louder they have to shout to cover that distance from one heart to the next. But when two people fall in love, they can whisper because their hearts are very close. And over time, as they love one another, they don't even have to whisper. All they have to do is look at one another, and they can communicate. He said, when you argue, don't let your hearts get distant. Do not say words that distance each other more, or else there will come a day when the distance is so great that you will not be able to find a path to return. So, happy World Peace Day, and I hope you will practice today simply not allowing your heart to close down, not allowing yourself to harden up, but becoming large and soft and loving and accessible and compassionate. So let's pray. Let's pray together. As we settle into remembering the truth with a capital T, that there's only one life, there's only one heart, there's only one mind. It is that vast, intelligent, universal, infinite creative power we call God that created everything that exists out of itself, so that right where I am, I can find that divine being. Right where each of us is, we can find that divine being. Sometimes covered over with pain and hurt and anger, but nonetheless, the very source of life itself. I know that this is true about each one of us, because each one of us is the place that divinity shows up in our world. As all of the mystics have said, we are the voice and the hearts and the hands of God here on earth. And as we contemplate that, I know that we open our eyes, the eyes of our hearts. We allow our hearts to see in all life that which is precious, that which is beautiful, that which is divine, so that violence simply falls away, so that anger is muted, so that forgiveness becomes the way of life for us, giving ourselves freedom and letting all others off the hook, because the hook belongs to us, not to them. And so I know that each one of us expands in this manner, moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day, becoming more and more and more loving, more and more and more who we really are, more and more at peace, and spreading that peace throughout the world, simply by being, simply by breathing and walking and smiling and loving and being. Because I know this is the truth of each one of us and of this community. I give thanks to that infinite power that I call God, that infinite love, the love of Spirit itself. I give thanks for this time we've had together this morning to celebrate and remember the truth of who we are. I give thanks for this community and all that it is in the world and all that it is becoming. I give thanks for life itself. And from this place of gratitude, I release these words and I let go of them completely, knowing that it is that infinite intelligent energy that has them, that makes them so, and that it's already done. And we say together, and so it is. We now have an opportunity to give in support of our spiritual community, and also a moment to just be grateful. To be grateful for life, to be grateful for all of the blessings that we have, for those that we love and those who love us, for the roofs over our head and the meals on our table, for our health, for life, for this beautiful, beautiful late summer day, for this community, for anything else you want to bring to mind at this moment of gratitude. Gratitude is that attitude that says thank you and makes welcome more good, more life, more love, more abundance, more health. And so in deepest gratitude, let's affirm together. Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance. I know that as I give, so do I receive.
I know that as I give, so do I receive.
And so it is. Thank you, that was wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. The kids are still back standing on their heads doing yoga, so I'll give you a few announcements and then they will undoubtedly appear. First of all, the social committee meets after the service today, 12:15 at Hothead Burrito, right down the street. And the book club meets tonight in the library at 5:45. Today is the last day to register for the Rain Barrel Workshop, which is this coming Saturday, September 27th. There's a $70 fee, and for that you will receive a rain barrel and the information that you need to put it to good use in your yard. A portion of the $70 comes back to the center, and Gary and Becky are generous enough to do that. And I will tell you that I've been looking for rain barrels for years, and I haven't found a single one that's you can buy anywhere for less than $100. So this is a really good deal. It lets you use some of the water that falls on your roof. Why not? So sign up. There's a sign-up sheet on the bulletin board on the far wall down the hall. I told you, here they are, kids. Yay! Are we singing?
1, 2, 3.
Okay. We get to sing to you. You are beautiful, courageous, and wise beyond your ages. This I know for you, as I know myself. You are splendid, you're unique, with the whole world at your feet. This I know for you, as I know myself. You are brother to the flowers, and sister to the trees. This I know for you, as I know myself. And all life lives within you. You are one with God, it's true. This I know for you, as I know myself. This I know for you, as I know myself. This I know for you, as I know myself. Thank you. Thank you for being here, all you beautiful kids. I was looking for you. Oh, there she is. Was yoga fun today? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good. Let's see. Tomorrow is the deadline for you to submit ads for the community newsletter, the one that goes out to libraries and places all over. And there's more information about that on the back of your bulletin insert under Mark Your Calendars. And on that same page, you'll see a whole bunch of other events coming up. Be sure to mark your calendars to see us or come up and help us with the booth at the Yellow Springs Street Fair, October 11th. And also mark your calendars for the Halloween Gala on October 24th. If you came last year, you already know. If you didn't, it's a great party. We dress up and act silly, and it's the center's gift to you. The food is always, well, this is our second annual. The food last year was great, and it will be again. And it's a lot of fun. We turned this into a spooky dining room, and it's a really fun event. So Friday, October 24th. And please also note that the new members class will be postponed until November 15th. And so that is it for the announcements. If there is something in your life that you would like prayer support for, please see one of these beautiful ladies with the blue, teal, or white shawls on. And they're pleased to give you, after the service, a 1-minute miracle, which is simply knowing that truth for you that you can't quite see yourself. So it's their gift to you on Sunday mornings. And with that, let's stand up and do our closing affirmation and our final song, which is One Love. Ooh, moving out of here with a little reggae. How cool is that? There is a song of the universe, and I sing it.
There is a song of the universe, and I sing it.
There is a hymn of praise, and I praise it.
There is a hymn of praise, and I praise it.
There is a life of joy, and I live it.
There is a life of joy, and I live it.
Woo! Thank you, God, and so it is.
Thank you, God, and so it is.
Have a wonderful week, everybody.